Hello, and thank you for joining me on today's episode of Creatively Balanced. My name is Angelia Williams, and I am a professional voice coach, a life coach, and a motivational speaker. Today, we'll be talking about the importance of an alter ego. What is an alter ego, and why is it important for a performer to have one? Let's discuss.
And I am more than my lips. Yes, I am. And I'm more than my lipstick.
So, what is an alter ego? Well, an alter ego is a different persona from your natural, just everyday self, right? You have yourself, which we call self, right? And then you have this other person that you create. It's somewhat like an alternate reality. Now, for some people, this can be problematic. I think because a lot of people have the creation of an alter ego mixed up and confused with multiple personality disorder. Multiple personality disorder is a mental illness where a person in their head, they think they are different people and they actually can become different people and take on different personas and different voices, and the way that they behave is completely different because they take on a whole nother thought pattern and they behave according to those thought patterns. Well, that's different than someone that is creating an alter ego to deal with their timid nature or the fact that they deal with anxiety. I'm going to tell you a story. So there was a little girl. She started singing extremely young, and every time she had to sing in front of people, her mother would make her and she would cry. And so even though she would cry because she was so scared. She was so timid because her natural nature is to be shy and somewhat removed and somewhat of an introvert. Well, her mother felt like she was gifted, and if she just kept doing it, if she just kept making her do it, that she would one day come around. Well, eventually this little girl came around. She sang all the time. Her mother insisted that she sing all the time, and she just finally came around to the point where she started to like it. She always liked it. She just didn't like doing it in front of people. Singing or performing or doing something when you're alone, it's very different than doing it in front of people. I give my best concerts in the shower. I think most people do. Right? There's nobody to critique you. There's nobody scrutinizing you. It's just you and just sheer freedom, right? So eventually one day, this little girl figured out as she got older that she needed to somewhat think differently when she's on a stage, because that way she wouldn't be so scared. She wouldn't be so frightened, and she could be the singer that she knew was in her, right? So she started getting on stages, and she would go into kind of a different persona, take on a different mindset. She had to kind of split herself and say, okay, I'm not my normal self when I get on stage, because if I get on stage and I'm just my normal self, it's not going to go well. Well, eventually she became really good at thinking this way, right? When she would perform, it was easier. She wouldn't get scared. She wouldn't freeze. She wouldn't crack, right? Well, that little girl was me. My mom, when I was younger, would make me sing, and I would be scared to death. And my mom just kept making me sing. And then as I got older, I understood and realized what I needed to do. I needed to become someone else on stage in front of people. Otherwise, I would never be able to do this, right? I would never be able to sing in front of large amounts of people or even small amounts of people. Naturally, I'm very shy, and that just wouldn't work out. So I remember a little while ago, one of the largest entertainers of our time, of contemporary times, is Beyonce. And, when you reach a certain level, things are going to be scrutinized a little harsher, right? So she came out and she was like, I'm Sasha Fierce. And, Sasha Fierce is this other individual that's the performer me. And people kind of got beside themselves, accusing her of I saw somebody say she was bipolar. I saw somebody say it's a demon, and I mean all of these accusations. Well, any good performer that performs on her level has an alter ego. Whether they name it or not is a different story. Some of my clients, when I'm working with clients, we name their alter ego because it helps them to kind of disassociate this person from their normal everyday lives. So they perform at a higher level if they name their alter ego. Me, I have 3 different, like you have me, which is just normal me. Then I have the business me who acts very different than the normal me. The normal me would never be so assertive with people and not be so open and network and all that kind of stuff. Like I would never do that. I'm actually very shy. And then over here you have the performer me, which when I get on stage, I go into another mindset so that it calms my nerves. And, a lot of people that I work with, a lot of clients that I work with, they deal with music performance anxiety where it's very bad. They freeze on stage. They can be flawless in a lesson. And then you put them on a stage and they go completely blank. Well, that's a problem. I mean, of course, that's something that has to be dealt with. So we create them an alter ego, right? I have an alter ego that I just have Angie, and then I have Angie the businesswoman, and then I have Angie the performer. But they all think very differently. They behave differently. Why? Because it's required. It's required of me as a performer. So Beyonce went and did an interview, saying that she's Sasha Fierce on stage. And a lot of people had problems with that. But I want you to watch her body language in this interview. Beyonce is naturally somewhat timid. You can tell she's somewhat shy. You can tell she's somewhat introverted. A lot of creatives are. And if you watch her body language, even her posture when she's in this interview, and then I'm going to show you a clip of her when she did the halftime show at the Super Bowl. Completely different individual. When she did the Super Bowl, she was fabulous. She was fierce. She was forward. She was sexy. All of these things that over here, normal Beyonce Knowles or Beyonce Knowles Carter is not. She's kind of withdrawn. Even when she's in an interview, if you watch her, over here, the performer is like fearless. It is like watching a complete transformation. Well, because of her level of success, she has to be that way. So let's just watch. I want you to pay attention to the differences.
Like when you're getting ready to go on stage and perform, does Sasha Fierce, when does she show up?
Usually when I hear the crowd, when I put on my stilettos, when like the moment right before when you're nervous and that other thing kind of takes over for you. Then Sasha Fierce appears, and my posture and the way I speak and everything is different.
But no, is it like a process that happens too? Like you were talking about the high heels, like once the lashes go on and the makeup and all that stuff.
It's kind of like when I do a movie, becoming the character. Once you put on the wig and once you put on the clothes, you walk different. It's kind of this character that I've created over the years.
Will to excel, the will to win. These are the things that adore.
Baby, it's you. You're the one I love. You're the one I need. You're the only one I see. Baby, it's you. Come on, baby, it's you. Come on, baby, it's you. When I need you, baby, everything stops. Superdome. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's get it.
So crazy right now, most incredibly, it's your girl, history in the making.
So as you can see, the Beyonce that was in the interview was a very different Beyonce that was on stage. because her stage self has to be strong and fearless and fierce. And she is just not that way in normal everyday life. I think that a lot of people misunderstand what an alter ego is, but a performer, most performers know what that is. Whether they really call it an alter ego or not, they understand that when you get on a stage, you have to command it. And if you're naturally not that type of person, it would make it difficult to do unless you kind of took this next step. An alter ego is another persona, which is a better self. It's a better version of you. And that just depends on whatever you would like to be. This is a tactic that is not just used on stages for performers, but CEOs use this tactic. I mean, athletes use this tactic. Anyone that is in a high anxiety, high performing profession uses the tactic of alter ego. Right? And even, just in normal everyday life, I'm a mother, I'm a wife, I am a business person, I am a friend, I'm a student, I'm so many different things. And all of those different responsibilities have their own lane and their own mindsets that go with them. Right? We're not talking about changing your overarching value system. That's not what this is. This is a creation of a better self. I have a client that she had a breakthrough in her last session because she deals with anxiety very bad. And we had been working to start to create that alter ego for her. And, I told her, your realm where you reside is, this powerhouse soul singer. You have to have a certain level of confidence to be that, right? You have to take on that mindset that you're just going to command the stage and just give it to us. You just have to give us those vocals. You are overthinking it. Why? Because her normal self, has to be somebody different when she starts to sing. And she had this huge breakthrough and it was beautiful. And she said, I've never felt like that before. She felt liberated, right? She felt free to just sing, versus all of these mental processes that she goes through because of her anxiety. It's because of her taking the time, doing the work to build an alter ego. Are you a singer that deals with this? Are you a performer that needs an alter ego? Well, you can always contact me. I would love to work with you. Singers have my heart. I work with different people, different professions, different types of creators, but singers have my heart because that's who I work with the most. That's who I've been working with the longest as far as vocally and now adding that other component on to their performance. So if you don't want to work with me, find someone that can help you build an alter ego. That takes more than just a talk to do that, right? That takes some work to do, that takes some coaching to do if you need assistance with that. You will see differences in your performance. You will see differences in even how you handle being a creative. Watching the succession, if you see a creative that decides to build an alter ego, they become more and more creative. Why? Because it's so liberating. It's such a free experience. Now they have the freedom to create. They have the freedom to express that aside from this person that they normally are. And just like with anything else, with different levels comes different responsibilities, comes different mindsets. If you are trying to achieve a certain level as a performer, then in order to do so, you need to have that other persona in order to help you do that, especially if you deal with anxiety. That's a great remedy to start to round you out when you get on a stage so that you can perform freely and not have to worry about all of the things that go on in your head, right? Because that's for this person over here. The performance you won't have to deal with that as much in creation of an alter ego. Again, my name is Angelia Williams, and I thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of Creatively Balanced.
'Cause if I'm too nice, they'll try me. And if I